Have you ever been to Australia? I'm guessing most of you who've answered yes have probably seen the sights of Sydney, Melbourne, maybe Brisbane and the Gold Coast. Well, if you've never been to the north, you've missed out. Picture sprawling, white sand beaches, lush rainforests and rolling green hinterlands. And at the heart of all this beauty, North Queensland's tropical urban playground, Cairns. It's absolutely magical and not to be missed. At least, that's what I would have told you before my last trip up that way. There's more than enough to do in and around Cairns that you can easily fill a 2 to 3 week itinerary. And indeed I did. I snorkeled, I dived, I fished, I hiked and I swam to my heart's content. The whole trip was set to culminate with a 3-night hike and camp excursion into one of the region's most extensive rainforests, the Daintree. A group of 5 of us, including the tour guide, would take part. They like to keep the groups small so as to minimise the impact on the natural environment. We set off early on a Sunday morning, fog enveloping the road as we headed off towards our point of entry. My senses went into overload as soon as I stepped out of the van and took in the smells and sights of the rainforest. It was nothing short of breathtaking. Hours and hours we trekked, our guide ensuring we followed a path of relative safety along the way. I say relative because, well, that's what it was. We had all signed waivers before embarking on this tour, and we were all aware of the risks. There are a great many things within these rainforests that are capable of killing you, not least of all the mighty cassowary birds. And if you get close enough to the Daintree River, you might just wind up an easy meal for a crocodile. I was confident, however, that our guide would get us through safely. I wasn't going to waste my time worrying about things that could go wrong when I was surrounded by some of the most beautiful natural scenery on the face of planet Earth. Day 1 eventually came to an end, and it was time to set up camp. We did so in a small little natural clearing. That was part of the appeal of this tour. Nothing we were going to see, sleep on, or walk on was man-made. Well, aside from our swags, that is. We settled in for the night, and I fell into a blissful sleep, drifting off to the ambient sounds of the night. We all awoke the next morning to birdsong, a light patter of rain, and the morning sun shining tiny little rays of light down beneath the thick canopy. Even at full pelt, it struggled to break through, so a lot of the time we were left relying on our flashlights. It must have been a couple of hours into this day's hike when we noticed a member of our group was missing. Instantly, our guide went into protocol mode, backtracking the path we had come from. He was reassuring everyone, keeping us calm, but I could see in his eyes the fear was setting in. This wasn't right. A member of our group had disappeared within a matter of seconds, without anyone noticing. We were rightfully worried, but it was when we spun around to find a second member of our group gone that the panic really set in. The remaining member of our group and I resolved to keep each other within eyeshot at all times. The tour guide wasn't taking any more chances, grabbing me by the arm and exclaiming, "We're leaving. Now." Didn't need to tell me twice. We began the long trek back out of the rainforest. Strangely, our guide continuously urged us to walk with haste, but to not run. I found this odd. If there was something out here picking people off, wouldn't we want to get the hell out as fast as possible? Occasionally, our pace would quicken into a jog, and our guide would hiss at us, "Slow down, don't move too quickly." And so, we obeyed, walking as quickly as we could, while making the least amount of noise possible. As we walked, I began to notice things. Shadows, just out of the corner of my eye. Imperceptible at first, but more and more noticeable the longer we walked. They began as flashes, something I could pass off as nothing. And at first, I was resolved to just not look anywhere but straight ahead. It wasn't until one of these shadows caught my eye and then failed to leave the edges of my vision that I took a peek. Not normal. What I was looking at was entirely wrong. Something resembling the human form, but not quite there. It was hunched, thicker than it should be. A look of complete and total emptiness on its face, as its beady, black eyes stared back at me. A feeling of something ancient, something primitive came over me. What I was looking at was altogether wrong. The others had noticed it too, it seems, as all three of us were now locked into the trance that I had found myself in. Our breaths short and quickening. And as we gazed, it began to step forward. One step, then another, and then another. The crunch of a dry leaf beneath its awful form was enough to snap us out of our stupor, as our guide breathed a series of words, which we followed without question. "On my mark, follow me. Don't look back. Run." And so we did. We ran faster than I ever thought possible. All the while, I could hear something behind us. Something inhuman. Something much faster than it looked like it should have been. I began to feel my breathing intensify, my lungs burning, my legs inevitably turning to jelly. Adrenaline was pushing our bodies far beyond the point of physical exhaustion, and I knew that it would only be a matter of time before instinct could fuel us no longer. For one of us, this would sadly not be an issue, as I saw a black flash roar past me and drag my one remaining tour companion into the forest. I heard the most god-awful scream that I have ever heard, and as I continued to run, to my horror, I heard the unmistakable sounds of a man being eaten alive. Those sounds will haunt me until the day I take my final step into death's embrace myself. We didn't stop. We continued running until the canopy began to open up, until the sun began to beat down upon us, until finally we emerged from that damned rainforest, from that nightmare The two of us practically threw ourselves into the van, and we floored it off down the tiny access road. I lay there in the back, traumatized, exhausted, absolutely devastated. I had just witnessed something not of this earth, something vile, something evil. I would never forget the look of that thing as it took those slow steps towards us. That look on its face, that look of utter indifference towards us. It had no sympathy. All it knew is that it was hungry. But no, it was worse than that. The way it coldly approached us. It did not throw itself at us in a fury. It's like it wanted us to feel true, cold, dead, gripping fear before it ate us. I've never experienced a feeling like that before. A feeling of a complete and total lack of empathy being felt towards you. It's the most disgusting, helpless feeling that I have ever experienced in my life. That drive out of the rainforest, down that lonely access road, was absolutely harrowing. Not only for the experience that we had just endured, but for what I saw afterwards. You see, as I gazed out the side window of that van, I saw something that made me realize just how lucky we were to still be among the land of the living. For as we drove away, I saw the unmistakable sight of dozens, no, maybe hundreds of pairs of beady eyes staring out from within the trees.